Okay, well then, Ivan, hello. Are you in a listening or speaking mode today?
I can join some conversation if needed. Hello.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely need a partner for today. We have some AI note takers here, but human personas are a great bonus. So thank you for joining everybody again and welcome in. Um, First, I was thinking that before, if we skip the formalities, today is Thanksgiving. So I was wondering if you have any turkey plans for this dinner for tonight? Nothing like that. I guess Thanksgiving is not a thing in Ukraine, right? But I believe it's personally a good moment to thank each other. I think what you're grateful for, and I want to say thank you to obviously Growth Factory for inviting me today, and for to you, Ivan, Volodymyr, and everybody joining the recording later for joining this session. It's about introduction and pitching to colleagues and clients. Basically, we are going to learn about introduction and pitching in the workplace. Before we start, of course, I have to give you some information why this topic is super important because from the very beginning it seems like super basic. We do introductions every day. I assume you are experienced professionals, so you've done this multiple times, both with introduction and pitching. And so, just because you're professionals already in this area, you probably know that how you present yourself in those very first few moments, it can either make or break the opportunity. Give me a reaction maybe on Zoom. Use the Zoom features here to show that you agree with me. I really hope to have some interaction with you today here. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Awesome. The agenda, as just a reminder, because I assume you've seen this before, we are going to learn the differences, key differences between introducing and pitching. Then we'll stop by pitching more because introductions are more like a second nature for us, right? We need to learn more about elevator pitch. And of course, I've got three tips or maybe more about how to deliver a killer elevator pitch so people remember you and they remember your product, your service, or whatever you're pitching, right? Or whoever. And since we are non-native English speakers today, the point about useful phrases for pitching and introductions is a bonus point to this presentation. Feel free to take screenshots of some slides here if you find some information really relevant. Or if I'm not mistaken, Tatiana will also share this full presentation, like slide deck, with you after our session today, right? Okay, well, finally, nice to meet you all, everybody. My name is Julia Tripolska. I'm from English for IT. I'm the CEO of English for IT. We are an educational edtech company, language and service provider around the world. We've been in business for over a decade now, serving companies and individuals from quite a lot of different industries and niches, with the tech industry in particular, helping them with language development. And whew, I'm tired. This sounds like a bad introduction. Do you agree? Yeah, like, do you actually understand what we do? What I do at English for IT? I was just like mixed. That's because my introduction now was a really bad example, and I really hope that by the end of this webinar today, you learn some tips of what to do and what not to do. Basically, if you ask me about English for IT, I would say we just turn people and companies into rockstar communicators, and that's it. Have you ever heard of English for IT? Are you by any chance our students or clients? Yes or no? Okay, no. Right, no, okay, no, or not yet, hopefully. Well, I'm also an educator, public speaker, part-time, I'd say. I'm generally with 6+ years in edtech. I'm also a former English teacher, now based and originally based in Odessa, Ukraine. And also, I have another title as a dog mom, full-time. If you want to connect with me over LinkedIn, here is the QR code that you can scan, or find me on LinkedIn in case you have any questions questions afterwards, after the presentation today, anything related to the topic. Okay, right. So let's get down to business and discuss some core things, some basic first, basics. Introducing yourself and pitching yourself. Are there any differences? And if so, what are they? I really hope to hear from you now. Go ahead. I believe that's an easy question to answer.
Introduction is probably like soft, and pitching is has a target. Introduction doesn't have a clear target, probably.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have a goal or a target, right? I mean, goal or purpose to that. Yeah, great. Good point. Iman, do you agree?
I can add here that pitching is it has a goal, probably sell something, and introduction is just overview.
Exactly. An introduction, you're both right, and you actually gave very advanced answers. Introduction is something really basic to strike up a conversation, right? So you just want to introduce who you are. You usually share your name, something, what you do. Of course, you can get some interesting, relevant details or information about yourself, but in general, you are introducing yourself and you don't expect anything back, right? You are not an entrepreneur here. You don't have any business goal in mind, right? But if you compare it with the pitch or pitching, right, this is a different story. Here you turn into a businessman, right? You have this clear goal in mind and you want either to land a new client or anyone. It doesn't have to be only for C-levels or executives. Even candidates, they pitch themselves to find a job, right? So you, of course, in your different arenas of your life, you do introductions more. Pitching is something when you expect to have a result after you pitch yourself, your service, your project, or yourself to other people. That's the point. And also, introduction and pitching, just as a reminder, they have different formulas, right? How they work and how you build them. With introduction, as I said, you just state your name, background, and you add some interesting details about yourself. We are going to look at more examples today, so just in a few slides. And with pitching, you include this first point, personal introduction, since personal introduction, of course, is part number one of pitching, right? Then you, of course, have a hook and a call to action, something that helps you maintain a conversation with the client, I mean, the prospect, right? A potential partner or whoever you're talking to. And here, I promise not to stop by introductions for a long period of time because this is something very basic, but there are some principles. And what I noticed in my career, in me meeting quite a lot of different people from different backgrounds, big hats and not so big hats every day, I noticed that introductions sometimes fail too. And it happens because you do that on the repeated basis every day, right? You don't even care what you say. You don't even focus on these words that you choose because you every time you say something like, "Hi, I'm Julia, I'm the CEO, we do this and that," right? And very often you get used to this business lingo, to this vocabulary that you don't even care if people, because they are different who you're introducing yourself to, you don't know which industry they represent. Maybe they even don't know this vocabulary that you use. Just because you used to this phrasing, right, to these words, saying that every day, it becomes very automatic for you. And that's why such topics, they serve as really good reminders to feel grounded and to analyze if your introduction is actually a good one, right? Because the simpler it is, sometimes the more difficult it is to work with. So you state who you are. Hi everyone, I'm Zach, HR manager here at Lovable. Then you add relevant details about your job position. You can say I'm in charge of driving talent development initiatives at our company. And then if you want to finish on the positive note, saying something like, I'm excited to be here and learn more about the project. 3 sentences, right? 3 phrases. And before we finally meet each other and I ask you to introduce yourselves, I also have this tip for you to add a personal fact to your introductions to make them more human. This is a very Mm, priceless, I would say, tip that quite a lot of experts started sharing recently. I think it has to do with the point that now in the age of AI, even us humans want to always sound more human, right? You can raise a hand or you cannot if you've ever asked your Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini to craft a message that is more human, right? Because you want to sound more human and it also corresponds to your introductions. So adding a personal fact about you as a person, as a human, being will also add value to your introductions. Luckily, we are in this world times when we can be semi-formal, sometimes even informal, with clients who are about to, sign a six-figure contract with us. We still want to stick to this semi-formal communication because we need to establish emotional connection with these people. So you can say something like, I'm also a long distance runner, or in my free time, I like to tinker with robotics. Do you remember the personal fact that I shared about myself from the very beginning? Anything personal there?
Dog mom.
Dog mom, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not something very exciting. Maybe if we have a big, a room of many people, it will not resonate with so many people, with 100% of the audience, right? But I just increased my chances. So let's say we have 10 people in the room. I'm pretty sure that 6 out of 10 will remember this fact and will remember me a little bit better. So that's the point. Now I want to, Ivan, ask you to finally introduce yourself so I know who I have a chat with here today.
Hi, I'm CEO at a UN company. We provide automation and AI services. It's great to be here.
Okay, nice. Any fun facts about you?
Fun facts, I twice moved out from the country in less than 24 hours.
All right. I mean, that's an impressive fact. Not really fun. Awesome.
No,
Thank you.
not really.
You also get this PDF presentation later where, as promised, there are useful phrases like bits, in every point of the presentation, something that you can always wrap up your introduction with, right? If you are expecting some next steps from the people, right? You're introducing yourself to the team or in an informal setting, you can say something like, I look forward to working together with you next year, or any of the phrases listed here, right? Because again, the point of the introduction is not to sell anything. You don't sell it because probably you did a good pitch before, right? You pitch something, now you have a client in the business context, right? So you just introduce yourself to this client. You don't have to do a lot of things. You just need to establish this connection between you and other personas. Okay, now the more interesting part is about how to create an elevator pitch because it also has some components and there is a go-to recipe or structure how it works. But before that, we probably know already, we figured out what an elevator pitch is, but why is it called so? Any ideas of its origin? If no, I would introduce a picture here, an elevator or a lift, right? In British English,
It's
that's
about
what.
time.
Yes, it's about being very concise and brief because Ivan, how much time does it usually take you to ride an elevator?
It depends. I don't use it now, but it's like 2 minutes probably.
Oh wow, okay. I mean, if you live in a high-rise building, it can be 2 minutes, of course, makes sense. But if it's just, like a normal, not this high sky building, it's usually around 30 seconds. I would say 20, 30 seconds, or sometimes up to a minute. But the golden rule of how this elevator pitch, this concept appeared is that it has to be associated with an elevator pitch where you're just taking a ride, an elevator ride, right, with the person. Imagine this is your dream business partner there with you, and you have basically 30 minutes, 30 seconds to introduce yourself, to pitch yourself, then not only introduce, right? To so that when the elevator's doors open, this person, your potential partner, asks you the question, tell me more. Because if you don't have this tell me more question after you wrapped up your pitch, I think it means that you failed, right? Because you didn't catch the person's attention and they don't ask you to tell them more about you, what you just pitched, right? So that's the point. Another interesting thing to remember and to associate is that the synonym to pitch is to throw, like you throw something, right? And it also makes sense because you want to throw in an idea, so another person wants to catch it, right? If you don't know the techniques how to throw something correctly, the person won't be able to catch your idea or something, right? But if you know how to throw it, you know how to pitch, another person catches it, then boom, the pitch happens, right? An effective pitch
So you mean
happens.
it came, sorry, so you mean it came from American baseball or something like that?
Vladimir, can you say this again? Can please?
So you mean it came from American baseball or something like that?
An American vegetable, if I'm not hearing you correctly.
Baseball.
From baseball, it's like baseball
Baseball.
term.
Yeah, you'll be surprised that quite a lot of such business expressions they come from sports. It's something from British sports, something from an American, but yeah, here in this case, it's also connected, of course. Yeah, good question. It's always interesting to dive into the origin. So that's the point. Now, an elevator pitch, you remember that you have up to 30 seconds to pitch yourself, and then if the person in the end asks you the question, tell me more, can you tell me more about it? Chances are you get this second step. When I told you from the very beginning, at English for IT, we turn people or companies into rockstar communicators. Did it interest you? Didn't spark your attention? So you potentially would ask me the question, hey Julia, can you tell me more? How you do it? Feel free to give me feedback. Rate my super short pitch. Do you think it was successful or not?
I like shorter version. It was successful, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But if we are pitching our project like startup or something on the scene, of course we have to expand on it and to be more detailed. Makes sense. So to summarize, an elevator pitch, an introduction is a part of your elevator pitch, right? But your professional introduction is not an elevator pitch. As they say, these are two different animals, right? Or two different fruits. And if you know how to introduce yourself, that's great. This is your very first step completed before pitching yourself or your product, right? And here the go-to formula that I promised about how to create this elevator pitch. We do have more cases like case studies and examples here in the coming slides, but you should know that of course you start with this business introduction, then you explain briefly what you do, you or your company does, right? Then that's very important, that's something that identifies an elevator pitch, is that you add an attention grabbing hook. Yes, you have to be really creative here because your goal is to hook them, right? Your goal is to catch your whoever you're talking to, the people's attention, so they really want to ask you the question, hey, can you tell me more? And in the end, another very important element is the CTA, as they say, call to action. Because if you don't finish with the clear call to action, you just conclude the conversation and you don't assign any next steps, right? So the best idea is to ask the question in the end, or encourage person to do some steps, right, that you need, that you expect to continue your interaction with each other. Feel free to raise your hand, by the way, if you have any questions. In the meantime, I can see that we have more note takers here joined us. And Anna, if you are a real person today but not a note taker, please let me know so we know that we can chat with you as well. An elevator pitch, back to this point, something that you probably knew in the theory is that as different from an introduction, an elevator pitch is a moment where you market yourself, right? This is your personal, I like to say, marketing tool. So you just have to market yourself, market something with a clear goal in mind. Maybe you want to land a client, right, at a conference, or maybe you want to market your project to find an investor. So I have a question here. How often do you have to pitch yourself or your companies? Is it on the regular basis?
Well, it depends on the context. If it's usually conference, it's higher or during cold outreach or like warm-up session.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. And also, a lot of people think that pitching is connected with startups preparing, how to pitch themselves, or sales managers do that only. It's a big mistake to think this way. Pitching happens everywhere. Again, from a candidate looking for a job, right, to every person in your company, because if they don't have to pitch themselves anymore, right, they have to pitch their idea, their project, or just anything within the company, right, inside the company as well. Also, pitching happens on social media, especially LinkedIn. I guess as a CEO, Ivan, and just in general, we get quite a lot of reach outs on LinkedIn, right, every day. And all these cold reach out messages are considered to be elevator pitches. Why? Because they are written elevator pitches. They're very short, right? They're brief, concise, usually like two paragraphs, I guess. And people there, they pitch their service because they want to either work with you, work for you, right? Or they expect something back. And I guess in 90% cases, such cold reach out messages are ignored, aren't they? Yeah, of course they are ignored. We tend to answer to every person with their cold reach out message, because you immediately understand that it's too pushy, they sell too hard, it's very direct, right? It's something that you don't need at this point. But sometimes some elevator pitches, they do raise your attention, right? They catch your eye, catch your attention, and you really want to at least interact with this person and answer their question in the end. Volodymyr, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I think that actually a good landing page is kind of elevator pitch in itself as well. So it's not only like verbal, it's also written communication is kind of also can be elevator pitch if you want it to be concise and achieving the results.
Yes, exactly. So you have to have your eyes open and notice this everywhere. So it's not this basic elevator pitch connected with startups that it was many years ago, right? Now you have to pitch everywhere. I would say even in personal life it happens. So feel free to expand this to all the arenas of your life. Based on this formula that I gave you before, here is an example of an elevator pitch. You can say, and of course adjust it to your case, to your scenario, something like this. Hello, I'm Julia, and I specialize in coaching people on power skills. So this is my introduction, right? Then I say, my clients typically see a 20% increase in their salary after they start working with me. Is it a hook? Yeah, it is a hook, of course, because it caught your eye, right, or ear. It sounds interesting. So probably, if I'm talking to a relevant candidate or prospect, you would ask me the question, but how does it work, right? How do you do it? And then I finish with a clear call to action. If you're looking to build a successful career in tech, I'd love to help. Are you on LinkedIn? Let's connect. That's a great idea for an elevator pitch that I personally, of course, it's something, more adjusted to our presentation today, but it's something that I usually do and use at, while attending different conferences, online, offline. They work really great when you have this interaction with people. So feel free to maybe screenshot this part. Volodymyr, to your very good point about written elevator pitch, I would say we have more competition here. And pitches like that, I would say they're considered to be really dry, right? If you receive the similar message in the written form on LinkedIn, you probably goes to like ignore this message because maybe it's something that, again, sounds too pushy, too salesy on letters, right? In the written form. That's why when you are comparing an oral and written elevator pitch, there are still differences, and you still have to adapt it. I would say written elevator pitches, they have to be even more creative. Usually we start with a question and we finish with a question as well. So you really need to increase your chances to catch the person's attention. That's the point. But if you're talking one-to-one to a person who is already talking to you, right? This formula is actually a great way how you can work with this. Now, there are, of course, some tips and tricks how to upgrade, double down on your effective elevator pitch that I want to share with you. First is no secret to know your UVP. What does UVP stand for, by the way? Anyone? I'm gonna give you.
I only know unique selling proposition and unique something else.
It's very connected. A unique value proposition. Because when we pitch, we want to focus, of course, on the problem, right? But we also want to focus on the value, the benefit that will bring to the potential client, right? So when you know your unique value proposition, you of course know your audience. Very often pitches fail because people started talking about themselves. If you open those TED Talks, right, or very standardized startup pitches on like American TV shows and everything, they fail very often because the people when pitching, they focus on themselves. They start like storytelling, sharing their stories of their life, bragging about their strengths and achievements of their company, like something that I did from the very beginning, saying how great English for IT is, right? But it's not about you. Why should it touch you, right? So when you know your audience and you know your value proposition, you can connect them and combine it all together and create really great tips and questions, right? How to start this elevator pitch in a good way. So provocative questions, they always work, I'd say. So if you have an idea how you can adjust this question to your industry, to your case, feel free to and save this scenario. You can ask something like, have you ever wondered how to? And if you know your audience, you know their pain points, of course, you can ask something like, have you ever wondered how you can save money on this and that, right? Or have you ever wondered how to double your productivity without working longer hours, right? Every business, every company, or even every uh, department lead, right? They have a challenge to deal with. So if you know their problems, it means that you're in the right path. Also, another idea that is great for attention grabbing hooks, right? All these things, they grab our attention. You might want to share a starting statistics, right? Stats or fact. Facts like this, always they're always prominent in different articles, especially in the written form. Did you know that? That's a great start. Another hook could be to begin with a compelling statement. You can see the example here, or use an anecdote or story. This is something that great storytellers do, right? All these TED Talks that I just mentioned, people start talking about themselves, and then somehow connect it with something that they are sharing and pitching about. And finally, pain points. When you know the problems, you know their people's pain points or challenge. That's great to acknowledge that. It's great that you share that you know that they are tired of something, right? They are they can't stand doing the same thing anymore, and it's not productive for them. So here you can mention that and then introduce your unique value proposition, your solution to the problem. Which of these hooks resonates more with you? Feel free to use the chat maybe to share your answers for these hooks. I would personally go with a provocative question. That's something that usually works, and in both ways. Me as a business owner, or me as a person pitched to. So it works in both ways. Okay, great. Now I think we are ready for practice. I don't know how active we are here today. I can see Victor join us as well. Victor, hello there. And Anna, if it's not a note taker, but let's at least try an activity. The task is to think of a project or initiative that you're currently leading, and your goal now is not to create a full elevator pitch, but just an element of it. I want you to create an attention-grabbing hook following this plan. You can see the plan. I can read it for you. So you just mentioned a description of the problem that it solves, and acknowledge who the target audience is for the product and how they benefit from it. You identify the unique value proposition, right? And then you mention why the customer should go with your solution. You have an example here, something connected to my industry, and raise your hand if you'd like to try practicing it here out loud. Okay, Volodymyr, please, stage is yours.
Okay, so I'll start. Do you know that small businesses don't have easy ERP solution, and are left with option of making of automating the business for a very long time, like months, and not getting even the smallest of the quality the big companies and enterprises take. Our product helps to automate businesses from the day one, and makes small business owners happy. Currently, we are seeking for 1 million angel investment. Currently, we are seeking for 1 million angel investment. It can be like separate, consolidated with several done like a single part, or like several partners. So it's much too bit improvised, but I hope it.
Yeah,
it's like good for that. Yeah.
This is it. You wing it, of course. That's the point of practice. So you didn't spend much time preparing. Well, I really loved it in the point that it was brief and concise and to the point. Also, the vocabulary range that you used, it was very human. I used so many words human today, but you didn't use any fancy words, all these robotic expressions that are now in every pitch, like we empower or something like that. So you just used your plain language and it usually works even better. If you're looking for an angel investor, of course, in this case, you would have to expand more on your pitch, right? To give, to offer more arguments. But in general, for the sake of this practice, it's a really good point. I would then just one point to maybe to give another tip that it's not included to this presentation is if you guys use ChatGPT or any AI tools, in this case, I'd go with ChatGPT. You know, there is an option to speak to this agent, right? To the bot. In this case, you can train it to be your coach and try, you know, test your elevator pitches with this bot. Once you make a pause, you know, the ChatGPT works in this way that it automatically interrupts you and gives you the answer while speaking, right? When you made a pause. This is a bad scenario. So you may want to train as many times as possible as you need so that your elevator pitch or just one element, you know, it just flows without any pauses. Of course, in terms of intonation, there are pauses, but in terms of thinking what to say, thinking how to rephrase the sentence, thinking what else to add, the ChatGPT will immediately interrupt you, and you should treat every interruption as a mistake, as if you know, failed the elevator pitch exam. So I really encourage you to try with ChatGPT, and feel free to connect with on LinkedIn and say how it works for you, because it's something that works for our students. Okay, let's move on to another tip. That's something that I just, you know, hinted on. It's about practice that makes perfect. It doesn't matter which language you use to pitch, right? Something, because they say English is not my native language, so it's hard. No, not really. Even if you do that in Ukrainian, in other languages, it's still bad, you know, at delivering unless you try multiple times, because there are two elements, like parts of it to your speech. The vocabulary, the words that you use, it's something that, of course, you have to polish, maybe to write a script, of course, to think about it, think what you want, which power words you want to use, right? But also another point is how you deliver, how you say those words, right? Because like how you communicate, it's about intonation, it's about your voice, it's about all verbal and non-verbal communication things, right? All together, it gives a full picture, whether you are an effective communicator in terms of pitching in our case. And here I actually have more ideas on on intonation, but first, don't rush it. I wanted to include the picture of the sky because my coach some time ago mentioned something as a golden nugget, you know, as a very nice tip for you if you want to polish your introduction or pitch. You have to, if you want to sound confident, if you want to be confident, not only sound, you have to mention everything like the sky is blue. That's the point. If you say things as the sky is blue, you believe in the things that you say, right? You sound extremely confident, you sound extremely calm, right? You state facts, and people, they immediately read your emotions, they read your confidence, they go through you and read you and immediately understand whether they want to trust you, you know, first on the emotional basis, if they want to believe in your product, in your idea, if they want to believe in your project that you're pitching, right? Because if we are unsure, if we state things but not as facts, right? If we are creating something on the go, it's something, it usually doesn't really work on, you know, on the big scene, in the very professional scene, of course. So you have to take care of your speed, right? Speed of your delivery, and make it moderate or make it in check, in control. Okay, next, the intonation factor. I promised to share like 3 tips, but this one is included because, again, it's not only about the vocabulary, it's not only about going to AI tools, asking them to create an elevator pitch by analyzing your website and boom, you're ready. Actually, you're not until you're fully prepared on the biggest scale. So you have to use engaging and authentic intonation. In English, it's very different from the intonation in our Ukrainian language, for example. So there is high rising and high falling intonation. We use rising intonation, so it goes up as if you are asking a question, right? So we use it on pauses when you want to pause within the sentence, in between the sentence, especially when there is a need to highlight something. And quite the opposite, we use falling, right? Rise falling intonation on periods when you finish the sentence in the end of the sentence. And I've got an example and exercise for you to try. Any volunteers today to read these sentences and use the correct intonation for each? Any volunteers? It's okay if you want to stay in the listening mode. I completely understand. Just let me know.
Okay, I can. Just a minute.
Of course, Volodymyr, let's go with the first one. Oh, sorry, you said you're not afraid, right? No worries. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see and take a look at these sentences. Mind the rising and falling intonation. So first sentence, if I would treat it as a random person without mind and intonation, I would say we help companies streamline their workflows by automating the most time-consuming tasks. It's clear, but it's very robotic, I would say. If you prompt it to same Gemini, it will read the same thing with the same intonation. But now, if you put it to ChatGPT, the latest version that was updated, I guess like last week, right? They rolled out some updates. You will see that this model is trained to give the proper intonation, even for such, even such small factors, everything affects the result. So the correct version would be, we help companies streamline their workflows by automating the most time-consuming tasks. That's the point. So I used my high rising intonation in the middle of the sentence where I wanted to highlight streamline workflows, right? Also, there is a comma indicator. And then there is a period. Of course, I finished my speech part here, my pattern with the falling intonation. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I can reuse it if I need.
Okay, Ivan, of course. Let's go. How about the second one?
Yeah, I can do it. Our platform uses AI to analyze customer behavior so teams can make smarter decisions.
Right. Did you just mind the intonation, or you would like to try again with the rise in intonation in the middle of the sentence?
Our platform uses AI to analyze customer behavior so teams can make smarter decisions.
Okay, great. That's a good point. And the second version was much better. Usually, the words like so are very highlighted in the English language. So, analyze the customer behavior so teams can make smarter decisions. But that's something based on the observation. Okay, how about the third one?
So the point is to
To
increase
use
intonation on after the comma.
exactly.
Or
Before
okay.
the comma, I'm sorry, before the comma.
Before the comma. Okay, I led our product strategy, focusing on our experience, innovation, and long-term growth.
Sure. If you want to name so many factors here, right, it works in our language, luckily, very similar way. You just use pauses with rise in intonation to make your sentences more engaging. Before you read the last one, maybe you got a chance to visit the IT arena this year in Lviv. I'm not sure where you guys are calling from, but did
No,
you?
unfortunately not.
No, you didn't. Okay, no problem. I just wanted to give an example of startups that were pitching. I guess there were around 12 startups pitching their products to investors, on the big scene. And I was there with my colleagues from English for IT, and I would say that 9 startups out of 12, I guess, they really failed with the intonation. So when you don't care about the engaging intonation, your pitch isn't engaging anymore. People, they don't want to listen something that is very dry, on the same intonation level, because we tend to attract something that is more emotional. And I've got a great book to recommend in the end, something that will boost both professional communication and emotional intelligence, because when we combine it, an exciting thing happens in terms of work. Okay, and the last one, please.
We are expanding into new markets, especially in fintech and health tech.
Okay, yeah, great. So you wanted to highlight here the point of new markets, right? So
Yeah.
you just raise the intonation and then you clarify it, especially in fintech and health tech. Yeah, that's a good point. Right. And final practice for today is that everybody feel free to practice it at your own pace. You can unmute yourselves, or you can again take a screenshot, try it at home today or tomorrow, but just challenge yourself, because you joined the session today to learn something about pitches and introductions. So just give it a try. Imagine you're a student, and then again go to the same chat GPT to give you feedback on how you just did it. Or we want to try it together, because the task is to imagine that you are a keynote speaker at a major event in your industry. I guess we are all in tech here today. So you start your session with an elevator pitch about your company. You have to market your company, what your company does, right? Make sure to deliver a 1 minute. This is a maximum, ideally 30-second elevator pitch that follows all the principles, from the business introduction to the problem that you are solving, right? The problem that your potential customers have, then the unique value proposition or the impact of your work, and a closing line or call to action. Make sure to finish with the question, because it will drive more attention. Volodymyr, are you the volunteer?
Yes, I can do it like
Sure, please.
the proper intonation and everything. Yes. Okay. Hello. Our company, Advanced International Translations, automates business processes in translation industry for like 20 plus years. We are solving automation problem of small businesses in translation industry around the world, and automated more than 1,000 translation agencies. It makes life of these companies easier. And if now we expand into general enterprise resource planning market, and making our system available to all companies, all small businesses. If you are interested in joining us as early angel or pre-seed investor, call me. Just join me after the speech.
Okay, so the point is to call you in the end. Great, nice, thank you. Well, now as a fake investor, I would definitely understand what your company does. If you want, do you want to hear some kind of public feedback from me?
Sure.
Would you like?
Yeah, very like they ask ChatGPT, do it ruthless feedback. Give like I don't know how it's like projarka in English. How it's like the fry me like fry or something.
I wouldn't be so sure about frying, but I definitely understand that. Okay, I mean, we call it constructive feedback in business, right? Yeah, you just forgot to mention who you are. You immediately stated the point about your company, what your organization does. So on the personal note, that would be really great to connect who you are in this company, right? Whether you're a founder or the CEO or like you're a manager there. Also, speaking of the problem that you are solving, you mentioned that you help many businesses, like small businesses, right, automate their processes. I would focus on the problem. I mean, in terms of you pitching to investors, that's great, but you still want to use more personal pronouns like you, asking them to, you've probably encountered many small companies, they have the same problem with automating processes, right? So
I
even
see, I see, I see. So that is to make the focus on the speaker, on the audience, or not speaker, not the speaker.
on the audience, on your audience, because you definitely know your audience. And if you were pitching to just a prospect, not to an investor, because these are different purposes of this, you would immediately focus on them. You would say, I know that many mid-size and small-size companies like yours, or you just even state the name, right? They have this problem. We have them do this and that, XYZ, right? And then in the end, you mentioned the point, you just gave them the task. You said, call me or text me after the speech. You, as a proper CEO, probably you immediately delegated the task to someone, to your audience. It's an extra effort, especially if the pitch was pretty short. You might want to just ask them a simple question, like, how would you like to connect? Would you like to book a call, afterwards or something? So it's very easy for the person speaking to you to answer yes. It's easier than they will be finding a way to connect with you after you.
Yes, and I also think it's like if it's conference speech, maybe even add some urgency, like you've came a long way to the conference, and I did the same, and it's like, would you like to use this chance and connect now?
That's fair enough. Absolutely. Thank you so much for absorbing my feedback. And that's another point about preparation, because when you prepare, when you analyze, because in your head, of course, you understand what your company does, right? But if you, there will be a tip here, like another hack to pitch your product to your colleague and then to your friend, someone outside of your industry. Make sure they understand what you say. Make sure you're like in very plain language, you explain things in very detail. So that's also a practice for you. It's not for people like irrelevant people who you're pitching to. This is for you to analyze, to reflect and retrospect and think whether your pitch, right, is proper, whether you included all the elements, whether you focused on something that you want to focus, whether it's something that will spark the people's interests later on. And of course, when you create the script, the very bad idea is to learn it word by word or word by per word, right? You don't want to remember it like at school, your entire script, because you don't have a teleprompter here or there. You just want to be natural and genuine, and just you can have some ideas on the sheet or anywhere, but just speak your mind. That's the point. And finally, keep it short, of course, because remember, the elevator pitch is 30 seconds or even 1 minute long, no longer. Otherwise, people attention spans to diminish or to dwindle. If you agree with me, please send me a reaction. Otherwise, I'll stop sharing my presentation and want to open another slide for you. Joe, thank you. I saw the reaction. Okay, let's put it this way. My key thing about the topic of introductions and pitching is that from the one point it serves as a super easy topic. Like, of course, we know how to introduce ourselves. We got the jobs, right? Obviously, we introduced ourselves at least like, but honestly, multiple times in different situations and scenarios. But again, the point is that to sometimes focus on the core principles, how it works, to polish your introductions, to polish your pitches, because they are not always the same. They are, of course, different depending on the audience, right? If you just go to AI tools like quite a lot of people do nowadays, from job candidates to business owners, right? They just ask ChatGPT to craft an introduction of them because like they obviously do everything about their their clients, I'd say. It's a bad thing because if you don't work on it, if you don't adjust it later, it sounds very robotic. It sounds not like you. It sounds like not really emotional, and it's not something that conveys what you wanted actually to say because you have a business goal in mind, remember, with the elevator pitch. So sessions like this, they serve as a helpful reminder. I'm really happy that you knew something even before we started the presentation. I asked you a few questions and you did know the differences already, but I really hope that a few tips, they helped you just remember something, and a few tips are something that you will take away with you for your future introductions, pitches, or just in general interactions. My final questions for today: what are your 3 takeaways from today's session? Would you mind sharing, please? Feel free to use the Zoom chat or just say it out loud.
Well, my first takeaway is that preparation is preparation. Second is that it's always when you have some high standard, like in short time, it's always like make it crystal clear. And third takeaway, don't neglect the intonation. And next time, I would like to maybe share uh, like today we've done you've done super job of like doing a framework of how I should behave, but during second phase when there are questions asked how to react. It's like maybe answers to some questions and everything. So like interaction with the audience.
Exactly. Or in your case with investors, right? How to answer questions from investors, some questions that you are maybe not prepared to. That's a good point. I wasn't invited to more lectures, but hopefully there will be an opportunity to come again. Volodymyr, thank you so much for your interaction, for you being so active throughout the session, and for your constructive feedback. Thank you. It's a win-win today. Okay, I think I have something in the chat. Let me see. Oh, these are read AI meeting notes. Okay, other than that, if you have any extra questions, anything related to the topic, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, we will wrap up for today.
I also left my comments in the chat, but you probably haven't seen them. So thank you for the presentation. It was great. Yeah, that's it.
Ivan, thank you so much. No, unfortunately, I can't find your, comments here on Zoom, but really appreciate you also being super active throughout the session. Thank you so much for joining tonight, and I will see you when I see you, I guess.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.